the KYM studios. In the Zoom room, we have Andy Wheeler. Welcome to the show.
And we're going to head back into the Zoom room where we've got Krystal Paco-San Agustin. She is the communications director for the governor. Good morning, Krystal.
Good morning, KOM family. Good morning to people of Guam. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. And, you know, you had a busy weekend. I don't even know if you ever have a day off. But, yeah, so many different releases came out from the Joint Information Center. And I wanted to start with...
they also passed 500. I saw that. You know how they always keep like a number of the number of releases that they have relative to like an event? They passed the 500th release for the pandemic.
Yes, this for quite some time. JIC releases don't typically make it past like 100 or 150, but no one could have anticipated the pandemic would go this long. So we are at JIC 502, I believe, was last night.
Wow.
So milestone release.
So one of them was the announcement of the further easing of restrictions. And so I wanted to bring you on because that went into effect yesterday at 8 o'clock in the morning. And if you could kind of just give us a run through of the different changes.
Most definitely. So late last week, Governor Leon Guerrero signed Executive Order 2020-44, and it did a few things. The first thing that didn't, let me talk about what didn't change first. So we maintain a pandemic condition of readiness 1 status. Also, we continue a safer at home advisory. So we continue a safer at home advisory. So if you don't need to go out, don't go out, especially if you're part of that vulnerable population, you're 65 years and older, maybe you have underlying conditions. If you don't have to go out, don't go out. What's different about this executive order compared to previous ones is that, you know, Governor Leon Guerrero really wanted to emphasize that with the vaccine starting to be administered, you know, that was a historic moment for Guam last week, but she wanted to ensure that we stay vigilant, especially when it comes to mask wearing. And so there is a section in this executive order, unlike previous EOs, that contains a standalone mask wearing provision intended to emphasize the importance of the basic task of wearing your mask. And that's our first line of defense. Again, even if you get vaccinated, we encourage you to keep with the 3 W's, the wear your mask, wash your hands, and watch your distance, even with the vaccine. And so there's a standalone provision in EO 2020-44 that emphasizes the importance of mask wearing. It also gives public health the ability to increase occupancy levels of certain businesses that were still operating at 25% occupancy. And so I'll go into that a little bit later because the EO doesn't really discuss it. That falls under the public health guidance that came out on Saturday. This EO 2020-44 also enables emergency procurement. If our financial management and HR system really does need to be improved and needs to be more efficient, especially now that we're dealing in a new world where we do business differently, where most of us had to telework, or if we can telework, we're encouraged to telework. So currently our system doesn't enable that or doesn't do it efficiently. And also there are federal reporting requirements under the CARES Act that, you know, requires that our HR systems be improved. So that's what this EO also does. And I'll defer all HR questions to DOA Director Edward Byrne, but that's one of the sections in the EO. But then the EO, you know, just it leads towards Public Health Guidance Memo 2020-46, which really gives you the guidance about what additional businesses and services can now increase from 25% occupancy to 50%. And so now, effective on Sunday morning, as you mentioned, private and public swimming pools can now operate at 50% occupancy. Wow. Gyms, fitness centers, and dance studios can now operate at 50% occupancy. Indoor firing ranges and other businesses and establishments that are identified by public health. But I got to emphasize that even if we're allowing more people to come inside, we still ask that, you know, you keep a log. I went shopping yesterday, Christmas shopping. It was really nice to see that storefronts had the log. You sign in, you sanitize, you take your temperature, and you sign in, you leave your contact number. In the event there is an incident, and that they can contact you. And this is a bigger effort. We still ask people to download the Guam COVID Alert app. You know, that's still a big tool. And then, yeah, that's basically, that's the gist of it. There are a few things that are also authorized, but must not exceed 50% occupancy, and that's animal grooming. and animal training establishments, cosmetology establishments. So if you're getting your nails done, you're getting your hair done, you still have to make an appointment, but now the salons can only operate at 50% occupancy. Dive shops, auto wash detailing and tinting businesses, photography services, financial planning, advertising and marketing, in-office consulting, and again, others determined by public health. But again, these were all businesses that were already open. These only affected businesses that were already open. So I cannot emphasize that enough. No new businesses were allowed to open. It's just these ones have now are able to increase their occupancy. And again, it's because the people of Guam have remained vigilant. They've done their part with the CAR score, and now we really switched to maintenance. That messaging on maintenance of the CAR score, we want to stay 2.5 and below. Over the weekend, you saw that JIC reported our CAR score was at 1.6, but that's really because it carried over from Friday. We'll get the latest update today, that latest CAR score today, because that's when we get all the information from all the participating labs.
Krystal, I wanted to ask, you mentioned, this is for businesses that are already open. I know it's hard to look into the future during this, but any word on those businesses that are still closed about possibly, opening them up to 25% capacity?
Yeah, I think for the businesses that are still closed, they can probably expect more information, more updates, after the holiday season. We really just want to manage our case count, manage the community spread throughout the holiday seasons. We all know how vulnerable we are when we want to gather. And so I know that we'll be revisiting a lot of those protocols, those procedures and the policies after the holiday season, quarantine included. The quarantine policy included.
Okay.
So I know, Andy, you're probably asking about indoor dining, bars.
Right.
Those are the two, the indoor dining and bars, yes. So those would be the two we'd probably more likely revisit after the holiday season.
Because you don't want that rush of, everybody going out for Christmas dinner, and then you've got a huge spike in cases. Okay.
So with these openings, we do feel confident enough that if there were to be a cluster of sorts, that we would be able to manage it and contain it.
Just following up, still PCOR 1, Safer Home Advisory, and again, the governor is probably going to keep us in this state of emergency, public health emergency, I'm sorry, because it expires, next week?
I have to look up at the last, let me look.
Yeah, I think the public health emergency is like December 29th, I think.
It'll like she mentioned in a previous press conference, it will be extended until we feel confident enough to not have to sign another executive order to extend.
And you also sent something out regarding the Pfizer vaccine, and I think there was some sort of issues with at least one of the boxes.
So yes, Saturday night we did have another shipment of Pfizer vaccines arrive via United flight. Another great day for Guam. It was evening time. I understand that there were 2 boxes that did arrive. One box was cleared immediately. Everything checked out fine, and that box had 3,900 doses in it, and it cleared fine. The second box, however, did have an issue, and so we're seeking guidance from Pfizer, the manufacturer, before we proceed with that. But I can assure you that public health did follow the protocols for storage in the interim while we wait for that guidance on what to do next. But I can safely say we have an additional 3,900 doses, ready to be administered to our next phase of those needing to be vaccinated.
The governor mentioned during the recent press conference about the return of face-to-face and decisions that need to be made. The Department of Education tomorrow is supposed to be the day when they actually make a final decision and make the announcement. Do you have any information on that or what the governor's decided?
I don't have any updates just yet. I might at my 8:30 meeting, but I can tell you that we do want to stress to the parents and the students that face-to-face instruction will be voluntary. I mean, it's not going to be mandated. If you're not comfortable sending your kid to school just yet, you're not going to have to. We're still going to continue distance learning if that's how you want to proceed with your education. But we do want to give that option to the 30% of those who do want to return to the classroom. Again, not everyone's feeling safe about it, but for those who do, we do want to give them that option. But I don't have too many updates on that. I hope to, I know Lieutenant Governor Tenorio does want to make an announcement sometime this week about more internet expansion or capabilities for our families who do need some internet access to provide for better distance learning. Because we do know that distance learning is still going to be a thing as we proceed, just like outdoor dining will still be probably more popular than indoor dining. And so we want to starting to plan for the future, adapt to the new normal, which we all are. And I think we're all doing very well. So I can't say too much about face-to-face learning.
Okay. I wanted to go back to PCOR 1 because it's still, we have somebody asking, about it. And I'm still kind of confused because PCOR 1 under the Hinemlu plan, it was for maximum restrictions. And we're seeing all these different easing of restrictions under these executive orders. Is the governor or the administration going to be changing the PCORs and the triggers and the definitions from 1, 2, 3, and is there 4?
Yes, 4 would be all clear, just like the typhoon. Condition 4, actually I remember that because Chris's malfunction song, oh how I wish I was in condition 4. That's how I remember the typhoon readiness system. And so at this time, no, we are not changing the pandemic condition of readiness 1 status. We have received word from our federal partners from FEMA that if we were to surge again, and knock on wood that does not happen, that the people of Guam remain vigilant, that if we were to surge again, we would be competing with the rest of the nation for resources. And we all know how valuable human resources are here on Guam. You have Lillian on your show almost every day talking about, nursing shortage, about hospitalist shortage. And so if we were to surge again, we would be heavily competing with the nation's resources. And so we proceed with caution as we start opening. So that's why you're seeing only those businesses that are still already open and be able to increase their occupancy, but we haven't opened anything additionally. And so that's the basic need of why we're not lifting any, we're not easing a PCOR 1 status. Again, you got to stay ready at this time. Our hospitalizations do say a lot about our response. GMH, reporting under 30 hospitalizations a day. We're seeing like three at GRMC and 0 at Naval Hospital. And so we've been able to maintain about less than 30 hospitalizations a day, but that's still worrisome because we're still reporting deaths. We're seeing an increase in ICU level care. We're seeing an increase in those on ventilator. And these are people that have been there for quite some time, especially if you notice that a lot of the deaths we're reporting, there are people that have been there since November, since October. And actually, I'm getting more information, but I did receive word that there may have been another COVID-related death overnight. And so once I have all that information, I'll push that out. So that's still worrisome. We're not in the clear, people of Guam. I want to stress that. We're still reporting new cases. We're still having people die from COVID. We're still reporting, we still have people in the ICU. And I think that's really where it counts, and people on the ventilator fighting for their lives.
What are you hearing about the vaccination clinics and how everything went?
I think it's actually, I got to witness all 3 sites administer their first vaccines. And so we started that morning at Okadu. Again, very emotional moment watching Xenia cry. I was like, is that a side effect of COVID, the vaccine? Because the tears just came out of her eyes and in unison with the shot being administered. And so that was really, really a beautiful moment, and seeing the hope that the vaccine represents. And so we started at Okadu, very successful day 1. Then I went to GRMC, Guam Regional Medical City, where our Magahaga had the honor and the pleasure of administering vaccines to her 2 top medical advisors, and that's Dr. Mike Cruz, Colonel Mike Cruz, and Dr. Felix Cabrera. And they were so honored, and she was so excited to put on her nurse hat to work, right there at the front line. She was very excited. They said it didn't hurt, and so I think she's still she's still very skilled in that department. She was excited to be back, and then that afternoon I proceeded to. Actually, let me back up. I went to GMH that afternoon. I went to GMH for lunch. Dr. Jolene Uggan, our COVID response leader at GMH, she was the first one to get the shot at GMH. And she was very excited to be that example, to set that example. And when I left GMH, there was a line. So that says a lot, that the frontliners are excited. They want to be part of the vaccine effort. They understand the reason behind it, slowing the spread, that the positives outweigh the negatives. She was very happy to be the first one. Then we went to GRMC, where Dr. Cabrera, Dr. Cruz received their vaccines from our governor, and it was a good day. We reported over 1,000. Let me pull that chick up. We reported over 1,000 vaccinations so far, and I think it's very successful. Mm-hmm. And we had no lines at the afternoon time on Saturday. We had no lines at Okudu. The system, the system is really smooth. You come outside, you go outside first at Okudu, and you register, and then it flows very well. So kudos to the Department of Public Health, their planning team, and their IC, their incident command for really doing a very successful rundown for that.
Mm-hmm.
So Krystal, I have a couple questions. One, what have you heard about the Moderna vaccine? And also, how much did the actual vaccines factor into the easing of restrictions?
Moderna, I haven't got the update on. I'm not even tracking that it's on its way at this time, but I think I'd prefer to defer that to Janella, who's in more public health meetings than I am. As for the easing of restrictions, that's more on my side. So, again, the governor we're very excited. We actually received the vaccines ahead of schedule. And so it does have partially, the easing of restrictions does kind of relate to the whole vaccinations starting, but I think it really more is the CAR score. We asked the people of Guam to strive for 5, and they did. We saw that decrease, that drastic decrease from the 40s, upwards of a 40 CAR score to down to 1.6. And so, the people of Guam have done great. Also, I need to emphasize that it's not just the people of Guam, but public health that has to maintain their testing capacity to ensure that CAR score remains low. So we have to keep ensuring that we're able to test this many people a day in order to maintain that CAR score. Because remember, our testing capabilities is also factored into that CAR score formula. And so today, I think that's a perfect segue to today's testing at 9 o'clock. If you want to get tested, please head down to Micronesian Mall by Ross parking lot, or you can go to Teedzin Old Carnival Grounds, where we have a great drive-through system. It works kind of just like the food commodities distribution line there, because it's a good flow, good traffic flow. Again, you can get your results on site, and that's amazing. We've come a long way from the first week of our response, Brie, where I think you and Chris were yelling at me because I didn't have the number of test kits. We could barely test anybody. I could count the number of test kits on my fingers and toes. And now we have test kits, and we have the capability to test thousands a day, and to get your test results on site. So that's a testament to how far we've come in the last 10 months.
So, Krystal, will you join the vaccination?
Most definitely. I will be lining up once it's my turn. Actually, we're making a proposal to the VAPPC, that's our vaccination planning committee, to have members of the media, participate in one of the earlier phases, to participate in one of the earlier phases, because I believe, yes, first informers, you are definitely at the front lines of our COVID response. I think that my proposal is going to be that 2 members of each media. So, Bree, Jason, or Chris, I'm sure Chris would be down, right? Or Sabrina, I know you have a low tolerance for pain, so I'm not sure if you want to.
Take one for the team, Sabrina. Come on.
Hey, when something's shoved up your nose, it's like, It
is uncomfortable. It is uncomfortable, but it's it's brief. It doesn't last all day. I mean. I do want to recommend that to the VAPPC, the Vaccination Policy Committee, that we have members of the media be pushed up in the phases, just so that you can be part of our outreach. Education through through experience, through testimony, through personal, following your personal journeys. I know that you guys play a critical role in telling the people of Guam and helping us get our messaging across that the vaccinations are safe. And then I think that a media participation in the earlier phases would definitely do that. So, I know Andy, you might be interested. Jason may be interested, Joser. So you may want to start, surveying your reporters and your cameramen, your personalities.
Yeah. I'm good with that.
We actually got something from Public Health a while ago. So we actually sent that in to, I can't remember who at Public Health, but they did a survey of KUAM. I'm sure not just KUAM, but all media. So.
Myself, I will also be lining up once it's my time. Governor and Lieutenant Governor will also be taking the vaccine when it's their time. As you remember, they did both have COVID a few months ago. And so I understand that there's like a time frame where they don't recommend that you take the vaccine if you've had COVID in the last 90 days or so. So I think we're getting the clearance, the guidance on that. And then they'll be lining up as well, set the example for the people of Guam that this is safe. Again, you're seeing our top medical advisors take the vaccine. So far, no real nothing too serious when it comes to effects, to side effects. We're talking about rash and maybe soreness on your arm and headaches. And that's what I've heard so far. And those are, that's consistent with anyone who has an allergic reaction. But again, that's why it's so important that at our vaccination sites, that there is a monitoring section. So if you were at Okudu, the place where you're monitored for 20 minutes after the shot is administered is the gym. So you sit there for 20 minutes. We see if there's any adverse reactions. If there are not, then you're free to go. I do know that earlier in our planning for the vaccinations, we did want to do a drive-in. That was one of the proposals, to do a drive-in vaccination, but then we opted against that because how important the monitoring part is. And we didn't want you to experience adverse reactions in your car, maybe not able to get, medical attention right away. And so the hospital, GMH, administers its own vaccines to its staff. GRMC administers its vaccines to its own staff. They can be closely monitored there. Okudu High School, you'll be sitting in the Okudu gym for about 20 minutes to be monitored before you're released and cleared to go.
Okay. All right, Krystal, anything else before we let you go?
Just the people of Guam, thank you so much, but we have to remain vigilant. Again, nothing's changed. Even with the vaccines, you're still going to have to wear your mask, wash your hands, watch your distance, and that fourth W that the Surgeon General in his talks with Guam, that we have the willpower, especially with COVID fatigue. We're very excited, the optimism, the excitement that comes with the vaccine, but we must keep doing those four things. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you again for being our first informers and really helping the people of Guam and helping us with our response, because we know our COVID response is really dependent on changing our individual behaviors. So thank you.
All right. Thanks, Krystal. Merry Christmas to you and Rob.
Merry Christmas. Bye, guys. Miss you.
Miss you too. All right. Still to come on our show, we've got Dr. Peter Lombard coming on. We've got Wayne Pacelli, who's president of the Animal Wellness Group. We also have our Holiday Baking Club segment. We're inviting Sarah Phyllis Camacho onto our show, and we're going to get an update from the Department of Public Health. Janelle